The distress beacon pulsed weakly through the void of space, its signal growing fainter with each passing moment. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the ESS horizon, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the source, a small planet on the outer rim of the Andromeda Arm, home to a species known as the Nixians. Another civilization about to fall, Lieutenant Rodriguez muttered, shaking his head as he analyzed the incoming data. The Crown Empire doesn't leave survivors. The Nixians were a peaceful race, their greatest achievements lying in art and medicine. Their cities were marvels of organic architecture, structures that seemed to grow from the very earth itself, housing laboratories that had cured diseases plaguing dozens of species. Now those same cities burned under the relentless assault of the Kranth Empire's warships. Commander Chen's fingers traced the edge of her command console, her mind racing through options that seemed increasingly limited. The Galactic Council had already made their position clear: non-intervention. The Arcturians cited economic concerns, the Vex Collective claimed strategic disadvantages, and the Meridian Alliance simply turned their backs. One by one, every major power in the galaxy had chosen to abandon the Nixians to their fate. Commander, the ship's AIA, interrupted her thoughts. I'm detecting multiple impact events on the planet's surface. The Crown for deploying their ground forces. The holographic display shifted, showing thermal images of massive drop pods crashing through Nix's atmosphere. The Crown were notorious for their efficiency. They wouldn't waste time with prolonged bombardment when they could simply crush resistance on the ground. What do the Nixians have in terms of defense? Chen asked, though she already knew the answer. Minimal, Rodriguez responded. Basic shield technology, some atmospheric fighters. Nothing that could stand against a Kranth battle group. Chen watched as another city fell, its distinctive spiral towers crumbling under concentrated fire. The Kranth weren't just conducting an invasion, they were systematically erasing every trace of Nixian civilization. Their museums, their hospitals, their schools, all reduced to ash and rubble. Commander, her communications officer, Lieutenant Park, called out. We're receiving a direct transmission from Earth Command. The holographic display shifted again, revealing the stern face of Admiral Hassan. Commander Chen, what's your assessment of the situation? Sir, the Nixians are facing complete annihilation. The Crown for targeting civilian infrastructure with precision strikes. At their current pace, I estimate total planetary occupation within 72 hours. Hassan's expression remained neutral, but Chen noticed the slight tightening around his eyes. The Galactic Council has made their position clear, Commander. They're advising all civilizations to maintain distance from this conflict. With respect, Admiral, Chen stepped closer to the projection. The Nixians helped us develop the cure for the Mars colony plague 3 years ago. Thousands of human lives were saved because they shared their medical knowledge freely. We owe them. The Kranth Empire has technological superiority, Commander. Their ships outclass ours in every category. Intervention would be— Hassan paused, choosing his words carefully, inadvisable. Chen squared her shoulders. Sir, humanity didn't reach the stars by doing what was advisable. We got here by doing what was right. The bridge fell silent. Even the usual hum of equipment seemed muted as Hassan studied Chen's face. Finally, he spoke. The Security Council is divided on this issue, Commander. But they've given field commanders discretion to act according to their judgment in crisis situations. Chen's heartbeat quickened. She knew what Hassan was offering: plausible deniability. If she intervened and failed, Earth could claim she acted without authorization. If she succeeded, well, success had a way of changing political calculations. Thank you, Admiral, Chen said quietly. Hassan's hologram flickered. I don't know what you're talking about, Commander. This transmission is experiencing interference. Must be solar activity. The connection cut out. Chen turned to her crew, seeing the mixture of determination and anxiety on their faces. RIA, begin battle simulations. Lieutenant Rodriguez, I want options for breaking through the Kranth blockade. Lieutenant Park, send word to any human ships in range. Participation is voluntary, but we're going to need all the help we can get. The Kranth have never been defeated in direct combat, Rodriguez pointed out. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Then they've never faced humanity before. We're not fighting for territory or resources. We're fighting because it's right, because someone needs to stand up to bullies, and because the galaxy needs to remember that technology isn't everything. As her crew sprang into action, Chen returned her gaze to the holographic display of Nixia. More cities were burning now, but she could still see pockets of resistance, Nixians refusing to surrender despite overwhelming odds. They weren't warriors, but they were fighting anyway, protecting their homes, their families, their way of life. Hey, open a channel to all human ships in range, Chen commanded. Her voice was steady as she spoke words that would change the course of galactic history. This is Commander Sarah Chen of the ESS Horizon. We are about to undertake a high-risk rescue operation to protect the Nixian civilization from extinction. The Kranth Empire possesses superior technology and overwhelming numbers. We will be outnumbered, outgunned, and operating without official support. But humanity has never turned its back on those in need, and we're not about to start now. Any ships willing to join us, rendezvous at coordinates being transmitted now. We launch in 6 hours. Chen out. As the message ended, her tactical display began lighting up with responses. First 1 ship, then 3, then a dozen. Human vessels of all types, military, medical, civilian, all answering the call. Chen felt a surge of pride. This was humanity at its best, rushing to help not because it was profitable or safe, but because it was right. Commander, Rodriguez called out, his voice tight with excitement. 23 ships have confirmed they're joining us. More responses coming in. Chen nodded, her mind already racing through tactics and strategies. The Kranth relied on their technological superiority, following standard military doctrine. But humans had a long history of winning against superior forces through creativity, determination, and sheer unpredictability. Begin loading all experimental weapons systems, she ordered, and get me everything we have on Kranth ship design. If we're going to save the Nixians, we're going to have to rewrite the rules of engagement. As her crew rushed to prepare for battle, Chen took one last look at the burning planet below. The Kranth thought they were invincible. The other alien races thought the Nixians were doomed. But they were all about to learn an important lesson about humanity. Sometimes the most dangerous enemy isn't the one with the best technology, but the one with the strongest conviction. The battle for Nixia was about to begin, and humanity was going to show the galaxy exactly what they were capable of when fighting for a just cause. The ESS Horizon dropped out of hyperspace at the head of the largest unauthorized human fleet in history. 28 ships had answered Commander Chen's call, ranging from state-of-the-art destroyers to retrofitted mining vessels. They emerged into chaos. Multiple Kranth dreadnoughts detected, Aoia announced, have artificial voice calm despite the gravity of the situation. Their energy signatures suggest weapons powered and shields at maximum. Chen studied the tactical display, where red dots representing Kranth vessels overwhelmed the small cluster of blue markers showing human ships. The odds were worse than she'd anticipated. The Kranth had brought nearly their entire third fleet. "They're hailing us," Lieutenant Park reported, his fingers dancing across his console. "Put them through," Chen ordered, straightening her uniform. A holographic figure materialized on the bridge. A Kranth war leader, its crystalline exoskeleton gleaming with embedded rank markers. When it spoke, its translator rendered its clicks and whistles into harsh, mechanical English. "Human vessels, you have entered a military engagement zone. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. The fate of lesser species is not your concern." Chen stepped forward, her voice steady. "This is Commander Chen of the Earth Space Service. We're here to evacuate civilians and provide humanitarian aid. The Nixians are under our protection." The Kranth war leader's crystalline fragments shifted, a gesture Chen recognized as amusement. Protection? Your vessels are primitive. Your weapons are ineffective. Your shields are barely worth mentioning. What protection can you offer? Last warning, Chen replied. Cease your attack on Nixia, or we will be forced to demonstrate exactly what humanity is capable of. The transmission cut off abruptly. Moments later, the nearest Kranth dreadnought fired a warning shot that passed between the human ships, its energy wake causing their shields to flicker. All ships, execute Pattern Omega, Chen commanded. Remember your training. They may have better technology, but we have something they don't understand: imagination. The human fleet split apart in a carefully choreographed dance. The Kranth expected them to form defensive positions to follow conventional military doctrine. Instead, the human ships scattered in seemingly random directions, each following their own trajectory. Mining vessels, begin Operation Sandstorm, Chen ordered. 5 converted mining ships activated their industrial-grade mineral extractors, originally designed to pull valuable ores from asteroids. Now they targeted the space around the Kranth fleet, converting the very vacuum into a debris field. Chunks of flash-frozen particles clouded the battlefield, playing havoc with the Kranth's advanced targeting systems. Interesting strategy, Commander Aoi observed as the Kranth fleet's first volley went wide, their precision weapons confused by the artificial asteroid field. They're adapting their targeting algorithms, but it will take them approximately 3 minutes. That's all we need. Medical ships, begin your descent. Escort Groot Alpha, clear them a path. The human fleet's hospital ships, protected by a screen of smaller combat vessels, dove toward Nixia's atmosphere. The Kranth moved to intercept, but found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to follow any predictable pattern. Human ships weaved through their own debris field like swimmers in familiar waters. Smaller vessels used the larger chunks as cover, emerging to fire brief volleys before disappearing again. The Kranth's superior weapons couldn't lock onto targets that refused to move in straight lines or maintain consistent formations. Commander, Rodriguez called out, the Kranth are launching fighters. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Perfect. Lieutenant Park, signal the Prometheus group. Time to show them our surprise. 3 human destroyers broke formation, opening their cargo bays. Instead of fighters, they released thousands of small, primitive-looking drones. The Kranth fighters, expecting easy targets, swooped in for the kill. The drones detonated, releasing electromagnetic pulses that overwhelmed the fighters' sophisticated systems. Dozens of Kranth vessels dropped from the sky, their pilots unable to maintain control as their neural interfaces crashed. Brutal but effective, Aoi commented. The Kranth rely too heavily on their advanced technology. They never considered we might use simpler solutions. But the battle was far from over. The Kranth dreadnoughts were adjusting their strategies, their massive weapons charging for a concentrated barrage that would tear through any defenses. All ships, execute Dispersal Pattern Delta, Shen ordered, and deploy the Fireflies. Small, agile human ships darted between the massive Kranth vessels, releasing clouds of what appeared to be simple illumination flares. The Kranth ignored them, focusing their attention on the larger human vessels that posed more obvious threats. It was a fatal mistake. The Fireflies, as the human crews had nicknamed them, were actually sophisticated infiltration devices. They attached themselves to the Kranth ships' hulls using basic mechanical drills, technology so primitive it didn't register on the Kranth's advanced sensors to bore through to vital systems. Fireflies in position, Rodriguez reported. Ready to initiate shutdown sequence. Chen nodded. Do it. Across the battlefield, Kranth ships began losing power as the Fireflies infected their systems with old-fashioned computer viruses, programs so basic they slipped right through the Kranth's quantum defenses. Medical ships have broken through, Park announced. They're beginning landing operations in the least damaged sectors of the capital city. Chen watched as the first evacuation ships touched down, their holds ready to receive Nixian civilians. but she knew the Kranth wouldn't take this humiliation lying down. Commander Aoya's voice carried a note of urgency. I'm detecting massive energy buildups in the remaining operational Kranth vessels. They appear to be preparing to fire on the planet itself. They'd rather destroy the Nixians than let us save them, Chen realized. All ships, form up on me. We're going to show them another human trait they haven't counted on: sacrifice. The human fleet consolidated around the ESS horizon, forming a barrier between the Kranth ships and the planet below. It was a desperate gambit. Their shields wouldn't hold against a full barrage, but they had to buy time for the evacuation. Kranth vessels charging weapons, Aoya reported. Impact in 30 seconds. Chen opened a channel to all human ships. Hold the line. The Nixians trusted us to protect them. We will not let them down. 20 seconds. Commander, Rodriguez called out. Energy readings are off the scale. 10 seconds. Chen gripped her command console. For Earth, for Nixia, for everything we believe in, hold. 5 seconds. The Kranth weapons reached full charge, their massive cannons oriented on the human fleet. But before they could fire, new contacts appeared on the tactical display. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected, Aoya announced. It's the Earth Defense Fleet. Admiral Hassan's voice filled the bridge. Sorry we're late, Commander. The Security Council needed some convincing, but they eventually agreed we couldn't let our people face this alone. Chen watched in amazement as dozens of Earth's most powerful warships emerged from hyperspace, their weapons already charging. The Kranth, caught between two human fleets and with many of their systems compromised by the Fireflies, began to retreat. Medical teams report first wave of evacuees secured, PARP reported. Ready to begin second wave. Chen nodded, finally allowing herself to relax slightly. They had done it. They had stood against the unstoppable Kranth Empire and proven that superior technology wasn't everything. Humanity's greatest weapons had always been their creativity, their determination, and their willingness to fight for what was right. All ships, maintain defensive positions, she ordered. This isn't over yet. The Kranth will be back, and next time they'll be ready for our tricks. But that's okay. We'll have new ones waiting for them. As she watched her crews working to save the Nixian people, Chen realized they had done more than just win a battle. They had shown the galaxy that humanity wasn't just another spacefaring race. They were defenders, protectors, and champions of those who couldn't defend themselves. The battle for Nixia was just beginning, but humanity had made its statement, and the galaxy would never be the same. The jungle canopy of Nixia's southern continent shimmered under twin moons, its bioluminescent flora casting an ethereal blue glow across the landscape. Captain Maya Patel of Earth's Special Forces crouched in the undergrowth, her adaptive camouflage suit blending seamlessly with the alien vegetation. Beside her, a Nixian scout named Zax trembled slightly, his translucent skin reflecting the ambient light. They're coming, Zax whispered, his 4 eyes scanning the horizon. 3 Kranth harvester units, just as you predicted. Maya nodded, activating her neural link to the rest of her team. Strike Team Echo, targets approaching. Remember, we're not here to engage directly. Stick to the plan. The Kranth harvesters emerged from the mist, massive, insectoid machines designed to strip planets of resources. Their crystalline arms scraped the earth, destroying everything in their path as they converted organic matter into fuel for the Empire's war machines. I still don't understand, Zax said, watching the machines advance. Your weapons could destroy them easily. Why do we wait? Maya smiled beneath her tactical mask. Because sometimes the best way to defeat an enemy isn't to destroy their weapons, but to make them destroy themselves. The harvesters approached a clearing where Maya's team had spent the last 3 days preparing their trap. To Kranth's senses, it appeared to be a rich deposit of rare minerals, exactly what the harvesters were programmed to collect. In reality, it was something far more dangerous: knowledge. Now, Maya commanded. hidden transmitters activated, broadcasting terabytes of data directly into the harvester's quantum processors. But this wasn't military intelligence or tactical data. It was art, human art, music, poetry, paintings, dance, theater, thousands of years of human creativity compressed into a digital tsunami. The effect was instantaneous. The Krampf machines, designed to process only cold, logical data, began to malfunction as they attempted to comprehend the emotional complexity of human artistic expression. Their crystalline arms flailed wildly as their systems tried to find logical patterns in Beethoven's symphonies or mathematical equations to explain Van Gogh's Starry Night. Team 2, you're up, Maya ordered. Another group of human specialists emerged from hiding, carrying modified engineering tools. While the harvesters were distracted, they began reprogramming their base functions, turning the Krampf's own machines against them. Your people are extraordinary, Zax marveled. You fight with ideas as effectively as weapons. Maya watched as the harvesters, now reprogrammed, began moving back toward Krampf territory. Within hours, they would reconnect with the Krampf network, uploading their new programming and their cargo of human art into the Empire's mainframe. It wasn't a virus in the traditional sense, but in many ways it was more devastating. Commander Chen's fleet bought us time, Maya explained, leading her team to their next objective. Now we have to make that time count. The Krampf don't just want to defeat us, they want to prove their way of life is superior. So we'll show them something they've never encountered before, human culture. Their next target came into view. A Krampf ground base, its crystalline structures jutting from the earth like frozen lightning. But Maya's attention was drawn to something else. A group of Nixian civilians being herded into processing chambers. They're starting the conversion process, Zax said, his voice tight with anger. The Krampf didn't just conquer species, they upgraded them, forcibly transforming organic beings into crystalline hybrids loyal to the Empire. Not today, Maya declared. Strike Team Echo. Operation Shakespeare is a go. Her team moved with practiced precision, deploying a network of sonic emitters around the base's perimeter. These devices didn't broadcast normal military frequencies. Instead, they began playing a carefully selected mix of human music, starting with classical compositions. The Krampf guards reacted with confusion as Mozart's Requiem echoed through their crystalline communication networks. Their hybrid bodies, designed to resonate with specific frequencies for enhanced communication, began vibrating in unfamiliar patterns. Phase 2, Maya ordered. The music shifted to jazz, its improvisational nature creating chaos in the Krampf's rigidly structured neural networks. John Coltrane's free-form saxophone solos wreaked havoc on their crystalline communication systems, while Miles Davis' trumpet runs disrupted their tactical coordination. I don't understand, a Nixian prisoner whispered as Maya's team began the evacuation. How can music defeat them? The Krampf built their empire on perfect order and logic, Maya explained, helping them to safety. Their technology, their society, their very bodies are designed to function with mathematical precision. But human music, especially jazz, is built on improvisation, emotion, and controlled chaos. It's like trying to run a computer program made of dreams. But the Krampf were adapting, their crystalline forms shifting to compensate for the sonic assault. Maya had expected this. It was time for the final phase. Release the Shakespeare protocols, she commanded. The sonic emitters began broadcasting readings of human literature, Shakespeare's soliloquies, Pablo Neruda's love poems, Maya Angelou's declarations of human spirit. The Krampf, attempting to process and understand these works, found their logical systems overwhelmed by metaphor, symbolism, and emotional depth. Their entire society is built on binary choices, Maya explained to Zax as they watched Krampf soldiers stumbling in confusion. Yes or no, strong or weak, useful or useless. But human art teaches us that truth can be paradoxical, that strength can come from vulnerability, that beauty can be found in imperfection. These ideas are like poison to their systems. The operation was a success. The Nixian prisoners were freed, and the Kranth base was left in disarray. But Maya knew this was just one small victory in a larger war. "Command, this is Strike Team Echo," she reported. "Operation Shakespeare complete. Moving to Phase 2 of cultural warfare." "Good work, Captain," Commander Chen's voice crackled through her comm. "The main fleet is keeping them occupied in orbit, but we're seeing something interesting. The Kranth ships exposed to your cultural weapons are behaving differently." Maya smiled. "Different how?" "Some of their ships are breaking formation to watch Earth's sunsets. Others are attempting to recreate human dance movements with their weapon arrays. One dreadnought apparently tried to compose a haiku." "The Kranth thought they could simply overwrite other cultures with their own," Maya said, watching as her team prepared for their next mission. "They never considered that culture could fight back. That art and music and literature could be weapons more powerful than any energy cannon." As they moved through the jungle toward their next target, Maya reflected on the true nature of their mission. They weren't just fighting to protect the Nixians. They were fighting to protect the very concept of diversity, creativity, and free expression in the galaxy. "Captain," Zax called out, pointing to the horizon. "More harvester units approaching. And these ones, they're different." Maya zoomed in with her tactical visor. The new harvesters were indeed modified, their crystalline structures arranged in patterns that seemed almost artistic. "They're learning," she realized. "Not just adapting, but actually beginning to understand. Maybe that's the real victory, not defeating the Kranth, but teaching them there's more to existence than conquest and control." "What's our next move?" one of her team members asked. Maya checked her mission briefing. "We're going to introduce them to human theater. How do you think the Kranth will handle A Midsummer Night's Dream?" The war for Nixia was evolving into something unprecedented, not just a battle of weapons and technology, but a clash of philosophies, a confrontation between rigid order and creative chaos. And humanity, with its thousands of years of artistic and cultural evolution, was proving to be the most dangerous force the Kranth Empire had ever encountered. As night fell over Nixia's battlefields, Maya's team prepared for their next operation. In orbit, the human fleet continued its defense, but now they were broadcasting symphonies and poetry alongside their energy weapons. The Kranth Empire had wanted to demonstrate their superiority. Instead, they were getting an education in what truly made a civilization great. The battle for the galaxy's soul had begun, and humanity's greatest weapons weren't their ships or guns, but their stories, their songs, and their undying spirit of creative expression. Admiral Hassan stood on the bridge of the EFS Thermopylae, watching as human and Nixian engineers worked together to modify Earth's most advanced warship. What they were attempting had never been done before: the fusion of human tactical systems with Nixian organic technology. "The bio-neural interfaces are accepting our modifications," Dr. Elena Rodriguez reported, her hands dancing across holographic controls. "The Nixian living metal is successfully bonding with our hull structure." Hassan observed as sections of the ship's conventional armor slowly transformed, taking on an iridescent, almost alive quality. The Nixians might not have been warriors, but their mastery of organic technology was proving to be the key to countering the Kranth's crystalline advantages. "Time to contact with the Kranth main fleet?" Hassan asked. 3 hours, sir," his tactical officer responded. "They've gathered their remaining forces from across 3 sectors. Initial estimates suggest over 300 capital ships." Hassan nodded grimly. The Kranth had finally realized that this wasn't going to be a simple conquest. They were bringing everything they had, determined to crush this human interference once and for all. "How many ships do we have ready with the new modifications?" 42, Admiral. Commander Chen's battle group is still protecting the evacuation corridors, but they've managed to upgrade most of their vessels as well. Hassan touched the living metal of his ship's wall, feeling its subtle pulse. The Nixian organic technology didn't just enhance their ship's capabilities, it changed the very nature of how they functioned. Instead of rigid mechanical systems, they now had vessels that could adapt, heal, and evolve during battle. "Send word to all ships," Hassan ordered. "Operation Prometheus begins in 2 hours. Let's show the Crown what happens when human determination meets Nixian innovation." In the ship's laboratory section, Dr. Rodriguez and her team were putting the finishing touches on their most ambitious project yet. The Nixian chief scientist, Vela, worked alongside them, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with excitement. "Your people's approach to warfare is fascinating," Vela commented, adjusting a neural pathway in the ship's new organic computer core. "You don't just fight with weapons, you fight with ideas, with adaptation, with creativity." Elena smiled as she calibrated a sequence of bioelectric pulses. "That's because we learned long ago that the strongest weapon isn't the biggest gun, it's the ability to think differently than your enemy expects." Their work was interrupted by a ship-wide announcement. "All hands, battle stations. Crown fleet has increased speed. Contact in 90 minutes." Above Nix's atmosphere, the combined human-Nixian fleet took up their positions. The ships looked strange now, their hulls rippling with living metal, organic technology merging seamlessly with human engineering. They were fewer in number than the approaching Kranth Armada, but they had something the Kranth couldn't comprehend: unpredictability. "All ships, this is Admiral Hassan. Operation Prometheus is now active. Remember your training, trust in our allies' technology, and above all, show them why humanity never backs down from a fight." The Crown fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their crystalline ships arranged in mathematically precise patterns. Their advance was methodical, calculated, and completely predictable. "They still think this is going to be a conventional battle," Hassan observed. "Signal all ships. Execute Phase 1. The human Nixian fleet suddenly began to move in ways that defied traditional space combat doctrine. Their ships, enhanced by living metal, could now change shape and configuration on the fly. Destroyers morphed into swarms of smaller attack craft, then reformed into larger vessels. Cruisers split apart and reconnected in impossible patterns, their organic hulls flowing like liquid metal. The Crown's initial volley, calculated to hit ships moving in normal combat patterns, passed harmlessly through empty space. Their crystalline sensors, designed to track solid objects, struggled to lock onto targets that constantly shifted their very nature. "Phase 2, Hassan commanded. "Release the spores." From the modified human ships erupted clouds of what appeared to be ordinary space debris, but these were actually Nixian bioweapons, microscopic organisms that could survive in vacuum and were attracted to crystalline structures. The Crown's mighty dreadnoughts began to show signs of infection as the spores attached themselves to their hulls, growing into organic networks that interfered with their perfect crystalline symmetry. Their weapons, dependent on precise geometric alignments, began to misfire. "They're adapting," the tactical officer warned. "Kranth ships are generating energy fields to destroy the spores." As expected, Hassan replied calmly, "Initiate Phase 3. Dr. Rodriguez's voice came over the comm. "Bioresonance wave generators online, Admiral. Ready on your command. Execute." The human Nixian ships began broadcasting on frequencies that matched the natural resonance of both the Nixian spores and the Crown's crystalline technology. The result was devastating. The spores, energized by the broadcast, began rapidly evolving, their organic structures growing and changing faster than the Kranth could adapt. But the true genius of the plan became apparent when the Kranth tried to destroy the spores with their energy weapons. The resonance wave turned their own attacks against them, using their energy to fuel the spores' growth. "Sir," the tactical officer reported with amazement, "the Kranth formations are breaking down. They're ships, they're trying to retreat, but the spores have compromised their navigation systems." Hassan watched as chaos erupted across the battlefield. The mighty Kranth fleet, with all its technological superiority, was being undone by the combination of human tactical innovation and Nixian organic science. All ships, press the advantage, he ordered. But remember, we're not here to destroy them. We're here to teach them that there's more to power than perfect crystalline structures and mathematical precision. The battle continued to evolve in ways no conventional military strategist could have predicted. Human ships, the living metal hulls pulsing with Nixian energy, danced through the disarray of the Krantz fleet. They didn't just attack, they transformed the very nature of space combat. When the Krantz launched fighters, they found themselves facing vessels that could split into swarms of smaller craft, each operating with both human tactical creativity and Nixian organic adaptability. When they tried to form defensive positions, they discovered that enemies could literally flow through their formations, their ship's structures morphing to pass through gaps too small for conventional vessels. "Admiral," Dr. Rodriguez called from her lab, "we're detecting something unexpected. The Krantz ships exposed to our bioresonance waves. They're not just being damaged, they're changing." Hassan studied the sensor readings. The Krantz crystalline technology, under the influence of the Nixian spores and the resonance waves, was beginning to exhibit organic characteristics. Their rigid geometric structures were developing curved, flowing patterns. Their perfect symmetry was giving way to more natural, evolving forms. "They're experiencing evolution," Vela explained, her voice filled with wonder. "Your people's strategy didn't just attack their weaknesses, it's forcing them to adapt, to grow, to change." "Sir," the tactical officer interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from the Krantz flagship. They're requesting a ceasefire." Hassan smiled. The Krantz were learning perhaps the most important lesson of all, that true strength comes not from rigid adherence to perfection, but from the ability to adapt, to change, and to grow. "Open a channel," he ordered. "Let's show them that humanity knows how to end a fight as well as win one." As the battle drew to a close, Hassan reflected on how this conflict had transformed both sides. The humans had learned to integrate organic technology with their mechanical systems, while the Krantz were beginning to understand that imperfection and adaptation could be sources of strength rather than weakness. The war for Nixia wasn't just changing the balance of power in the galaxy, it was changing the very nature of those who fought in it. And perhaps that, more than any tactical victory, was the greatest achievement of all. Unbreakable alliance. The Galactic Council's emergency session chamber was in chaos. Holographic representatives from dozens of species argued heatedly as footage from the Nixian conflict played on massive displays. The images showed human ships, enhanced with Nixian biotechnology, executing maneuvers that defied conventional space warfare doctrine. Impossible. The Arcturian representatives' crystalline form vibrated with agitation. No primitive species could have achieved this level of integration with organic technology so quickly. Ambassador Sarah Lee of Earth stood calmly at the center of the storm. After decades of being dismissed as a developing species, humanity was finally commanding the galaxy's full attention. "What you call impossible," she responded, her voice carrying across the chamber, "we call Tuesday. Humanity has always excelled at achieving the impossible, especially when defending those who cannot defend themselves." The displays shifted to show new footage. Krantz ships, their once perfect crystalline structures now showing signs of organic growth, retreating from Nixian space. More significantly, some Krantz vessels exhibited signs of voluntary transformation, their rigid geometric patterns flowing into more natural, adaptive forms. "The Krantz Empire is fracturing," the Meridian Alliance representative observed. "Their defeat at Nixia has triggered a philosophical crisis within their society. Some factions are beginning to question their doctrine of crystalline perfection." In orbit around Nixia, the transformation was even more dramatic. The combined human-Nixian fleet had become something entirely new. Ships pulsed with living metal, their forms shifting and adapting like organic entities while maintaining the tactical precision of human military design. Commander Chen, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, stood on the bridge of the ESS Horizon, which had evolved far beyond its original form. The ship's walls breathed like living tissue, while crystalline sensors adopted from reformed Kranth technology provided unprecedented awareness of space around them. Admiral, her new first officer reported, "We're detecting multiple hyperspace signatures approaching, non-Kranth origins." Chen smiled as ships began emerging from hyperspace, vessels from species that had previously stood aside during the Nixian conflict. They came not as enemies, but as supplicants, seeking to understand how humanity had achieved what they had thought impossible. "Open communications," Chen ordered. "Let's show them that humanity's greatest strength isn't in our weapons or technology, it's in our ability to build bridges between different ways of thinking." The Vex Collective, known for their purely mechanical approach to existence, had sent their first organic-compatible units. The Arcturians, despite their initial skepticism, arrived with proposals for joint research into hybrid technologies. Even the mysterious Quantum Concordat, which have remained neutral in all previous conflicts, dispatched observers to study this unprecedented fusion of different technological philosophies. But the most surprising arrival was a group of Kranth ships, not as enemies, but as allies. Their crystalline forms showed signs of voluntary modification, incorporating organic elements inspired by the human Nixian innovations. "We come seeking understanding," the Kranth commander transmitted. "Our pursuit of perfect crystalline order blinded us to the strength found in adaptation and change. Humanity has shown us there are other paths to excellence." On the surface of Nixia, the transformation was equally profound. Dr. Rodriguez and her team had established the Convergence Institute, where scientists from dozens of species worked together to explore the possibilities of technological and philosophical fusion. "The humans didn't just save our world," Vela, the Nixian chief scientist, explained to a group of visiting dignitaries. "They showed us all a new way forward." Their ability to embrace different approaches, to find strength in diversity rather than uniformity, has changed the fundamental dynamics of galactic civilization. The Institute's main laboratory was a testament to this new philosophy. Nixian organic technology merged seamlessly with reformed Kranth crystalline structures, while human innovative approaches tied everything together in unexpected ways. Scientists who had once served the Kranth Empire now worked alongside the very species they had once sought to perfect. "Admiral," Chen's tactical officer called out, "long-range sensors are detecting something unusual. The Kranth worlds, they're changing." The displays showed Kranth cities transforming, their rigid crystalline structures developing organic characteristics. It wasn't just their technology that was evolving, their entire civilization was embracing a new way of existing. "They're learning," Chen observed, "not just adapting their technology, but understanding what we've been trying to teach them. That true strength comes from embracing change, not resisting it." In the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador Li continued to address the assembly. "Humanity never sought to prove superiority. We fought because it was right, we adapted because it was necessary, and we shared our discoveries because that's who we are. We don't believe in hoarding knowledge or imposing our way of life on others. We believe in finding strength through diversity, power through cooperation, and wisdom through exchange." The Council's displays showed scenes from across known space. Kranth ships protecting former adversaries, Nixian organic technology enhancing worlds that had once shunned it, human innovation bridging gaps between seemingly incompatible systems. "What we've created here," Li concluded, "isn't just a military alliance or a technological revolution. It's a new understanding of what civilization can be when we stop trying to force everyone into the same mold and start celebrating our differences." As if to emphasize her point, the chamber's own structure began to change. Nixian organic technology merged with reformed Kranth crystalline architecture, creating something entirely new, a physical representation of the transformation sweeping through galactic society. The Galactic Council, which had once dismissed humanity as primitive, now found itself grappling with a profound reality. The humans hadn't just won a war, they had initiated a fundamental shift in how species interacted with one another. "The age of imposed uniformity is over," Ambassador Li declared. The future belongs to those who can adapt, who can learn from others, who can find strength in diversity rather than fear it. Humanity didn't set out to change the galaxy, but by staying true to our principles, by defending those who needed help, by sharing what we learned, by refusing to back down from what we believed was right, we've shown everyone a better way forward. As the council session concluded, ships from dozens of species gathered around Nixia, not for war, but to learn how they too could be part of this transformation. The human fleet, once considered primitive, now stood as a symbol of what could be achieved when different approaches were combined rather than forced to compete. The galaxy was changing, and humanity had shown that the greatest victories weren't won through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through the courage to defend others and the wisdom to learn from them in return. The Great Hall of the Convergence Citadel stood as a testament to what humanity had achieved. Its walls seamlessly blended Nixian organic architecture with reformed Kranth crystal technology, while human innovation pulsed through its very foundations. Once a simple military headquarters, it had evolved into something far more significant, the first truly integrated center of galactic cooperation. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at its heart, surrounded by representatives from across known space. The emergency gathering had been called for one reason, a discovery that threatened to shake their newfound alliance to its core. The signal originates from beyond the galactic rim, Dr. Rodriguez explained, her hybrid interface projecting a complex pattern of energy signatures. It's similar to ancient Kranth communications, but far more advanced. We believe it's from the originators. A murmur rippled through the assembly. The originators, the mysterious species that had first given the Kranth their crystalline technology, setting them on their path of rigid perfection. Many had thought them long extinct. They're returning, the reformed Kranth leader, Crystal Heart, announced. Their partly organic, partly crystalline form shimmered with concern. Our long-range sensors detect a fleet unlike anything we've ever encountered. Pure crystal technology, evolved over millennia. The holographic display showed vessels that made even the most advanced Kranth ships look primitive. Perfect geometric shapes that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, wielding energies that defied conventional physics. They're not pleased with our evolution, Crystal Heart continued. The integration of organic elements, the embrace of imperfection, it goes against everything they represent. They come to correct what they see as corruption of their perfect design. Commander Maya Patel, recently promoted to head of special operations, stepped forward. Her combat suit now represented the peak of integrated technology, Nixian living metal flowing over Kranth crystal matrices, enhanced by human tactical systems. Let them come, she declared. They'll find we're not so easily corrected. The assembled leaders began coordinating their response. The Nixians, once peaceful to a fault, had learned to channel their organic technology into defensive systems that could adapt to any threat. The reformed Kranth brought their deep understanding of crystalline technology, now freed from the constraints of rigid thinking. And humanity brought what it always had, the ability to think differently, to find solutions where others saw only problems. We have 3 days before they reach our space, Admiral Chen announced. I want every ship equipped with our latest hybrid systems. Dr. Rodriguez, you'll coordinate with the Nixian bioengineers. Crystal Heart, we'll need everything you know about originator technology. It's time to show them what true evolution looks like. The response was immediate and unprecedented. Species that had once been bitter enemies now worked together with seamless efficiency. Nixian organic shipyards pulsed with activity as vessels were enhanced with living metal. Reformed Kranth crystal smiths worked alongside human engineers, creating defensive systems that could adapt and evolve during battle. But their greatest weapon wasn't their technology, it was their unity. The originators expected to find confused, conflicting species they could easily divide and conquer. Instead, they would face something unprecedented, a truly integrated galactic civilization. The first waves are entering our space, announced AIA, herself now a unique fusion of human AI, Nixian organic computing, and Kranth crystal matrices. Their technology, it's extraordinary. They're not just using space, they're reshaping it. The originator fleet emerged like a geometric storm, their ships forming patterns that hurt the eye to look at. Perfect crystalline structures that seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics, wielding weapons that could rewrite reality itself. All ships execute Formation Prometheus, Chen commanded. The combined fleet moved with organic fluidity, their hybrid vessels flowing into positions that would have been impossible for conventional ships. This wasn't just a battle formation, it was a demonstration of everything they had achieved together. The originator's first attack was devastating. Beams of pure crystalline energy that should have shattered any known defense. But the hybrid fleet's shields pulsed and adapted, Nixian organic technology absorbing and redistributing the energy, while reformed Kranth crystal matrices reorganized to counter the assault. They expected us to break, Crystal Heart observed from their command post. Instead, we bend, we adapt, we grow stronger. The battle that followed would be remembered for generations as a defining moment of this new age. The originators brought to bear weapons that could tear apart space itself, expecting their perfect crystalline technology to overwhelm any resistance. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that refused to play by their rules. Human ships, enhanced with living metal and crystal tech, performed maneuvers that defied tactical logic. They didn't just dodge attacks, they flowed around them, their organic components learning and adapting with each encounter. Nixian vessels released clouds of biocrystal spores that infected the originator's perfect structures, introducing elements of chaos and change into their rigid systems. But the true turning point came when Dr. Rodriguez activated their secret weapon, the Harmony Protocol. It wasn't a conventional weapon at all, but rather a transmission that carried the combined artistic and cultural heritage of all the allied species. Music, art, literature, dance, all transformed into energy patterns that resonated with the crystalline technology of the originator fleet. Let them experience what true perfection is, Rodriguez declared as she initiated the broadcast. Not in rigidity, but in the perfect harmony of different voices joining as one. The effect was beyond anything they had hoped for. The originator ships, their pure crystalline technology exposed to this tsunami of cultural diversity, began to change. Their perfect geometric patterns started shifting, organic elements emerging spontaneously as their systems tried to process this new understanding of existence. They're not just being defeated, Maya observed from her special ops vessel. They're being transformed. The originator flagship, its crystalline structure now showing signs of organic growth, finally opened communications. The being that appeared on their screens was unlike anything they had expected, not a perfect crystalline entity, but something that seemed to be evolving even as they watched. "We came to correct what we saw as corruption," the originator spoke, its voice carrying tones of wonder. "Instead, you have shown us that our pursuit of perfection was itself flawed. True perfection lies not in rigid adherence to a single form, but in the endless dance of adaptation and change." The battle ended not with destruction, but with transformation. The originator fleet, their technology forever changed by exposure to the Harmony Protocol, joined the alliance they had come to destroy. Their ancient knowledge, combined with the innovative spirit of the younger races, opened up possibilities that none of them had imagined possible. In the years that followed, the galaxy entered a golden age of exploration and discovery. The Convergence Citadel became a center of learning where species from across space came to share their knowledge and culture. The reformed originators, humbled by their experience, became teachers rather than conquerors, sharing the wisdom they had gained over millions of years. But at the heart of it all was humanity's greatest lesson, that true strength comes not from imposing one's will upon others, but from finding ways to grow together. The human spirit of exploration, adaptation, and unwavering determination had not just saved civilization, it had transformed it into something greater than anyone had imagined possible. Admiral Chen, standing at the Citadel's observation deck years later, watched ships of all designs moving through space, some crystalline, some organic, most a beautiful combination of both. Each represented not just a technological achievement, but a philosophy that had changed the galaxy, that differences were not weaknesses to be corrected, but strengths to be celebrated. "We never set out to change the galaxy," she mused of her mixed crew of humans, Nixians, and reformed Kranth. "We just couldn't stand by and watch injustice prevail. In trying to protect others, we ended up showing everyone a better way forward." The legacy of humanity's stand at Nixia had become something far greater than a military victory. It had become a testament to what could be achieved when different species chose to stand together, to learn from each other, and to face the future not as competitors, but as one unified civilization, ready to explore whatever wonders the universe held next.